Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to show you how to do some troubleshooting on a Ford 7.3 Powerstroke using the Launch x431. I think this is an x431V Plus is what it says. I don't know if it's because it's the bigger one or whatever. These cost about $1,100 or so, give or take. There's a lot of scan tools and stuff that won't, as a matter of fact, when I first plugged this into one, going into like special functions and whatnot, this basically, says not supported. But then as I got to digging around and a little bit farther, I was able to, do some, or get it to do some help, like say an injector buzz test. That's one thing that you would want a scan tool to do when you're trying to troubleshoot, any sort of issues that, these things have with running, because these can have some, starting issues, running performance issues, all kinds of stuff, and not throw any codes at all. So they're, sometimes can be a little bit of a booger because you can't just troubleshoot these things off of codes. So basically, I mean, there's nothing wrong with this pickup. So just going to show a lot of the different functions that this scan tool can do. So we'll get into that. Okay, so basically most all these scan tools, are the ones I've ever seen, Autel and other ones, are pretty much an Android tablet, Anyways, you got the Bluetooth OBD connector right here, so we'll go ahead and have to use my other hand to reach down there, plug it in right underneath here. You hear a beeping, that's good. That means you got power to that connector. If not, check your fuses and stuff that are for that particular deal. So, when you turn this on, open the app, go into Ford, and it's telling you your version number. You go to OK. Now it's beeping and connecting, through the Bluetooth. So you can go into manually select, but you can always try automatically search. Turn the key to on. It is. Hit OK. This doesn't take too long, but if it does, I might pause it. Boom, 30. I've had it actually go a little bit faster than this, even connecting to this pickup. So this one here happens to be 2002. So a lot of times in older vehicles, the VIN number won't come up. But everything else, it is an F-Series Super Duty, 7.3 liter direct injection turbo, type diesel, transmission manual. So we hit yes. And it sure does a lot of this, processing and all that, but it usually doesn't take too long on it. Okay, so I paused it, and then the next thing it comes up to is this particular window. Now, a lot of times when I'm doing, some newer vehicles and stuff, you go into the special functions, and either one of these. Actually, wait a minute. First thing you want to do is, if you want to get into the engine part, you're going to go to system selection. Go all the way down to the powertrain control module. That other one I went to before, where it has body and chassis. I mean, there's other special functions, like you can test the shift on the fly, 4-wheel drive, and stuff with this scan tool, and that all does work just fine. So once you get into here, this is the actuation test is the one, you'll sit here, oh, that's perfect, go through and do this, and then, oh, boom, not supported. Dang it. So to get in here, go to read fault code. Now the first thing you can do, scroll down, and you can retrieve, you know, if you have a check engine light, obviously you've got some codes, and so you can, you know, you can read these. But we have a few of these, key on, engine off. Here's the injector electrical self-test. So it's telling you, you know, that these following conditions are met: transmission park or neutral. You know, a lot of this doesn't really pertain to, you know, a lot what we're doing. You know, you want to do a buzz test when the engine's cold to see what it sounds like. You can do it both, you know, but you especially want to do it cold. But you just hit OK. That's all 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that was 8. So that's all. Hopefully you heard that pretty good. Those are all really healthy injectors. So then when it's done with the test, it goes into this window, and right here it's telling you that there's no diagnostic trouble. So no diagnostic trouble codes, hence no DTC. So you can come back. This key on, engine off, output status self-test. I mean, that's having you, you know, push buttons like these here on the steering wheel and all that kind of stuff. Doesn't really have much to pertain to the 7.3. But it does have a, you know, it's got this glow plug monitoring self-test. I've never done that one. Key on, engine running, on demand self-test. Let me show you how that one works. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and crank the truck up and start it. Make sure it's in neutral. Parking brake set. And basically telling you all about, you know, what you want to have going on. Okay, so now the RPM just went up. It's running some tests. That light there is telling me that the door is on. If I close myself inside of here, it won't be so loud. So right now on the screen, this is all I'm seeing is communicating, please wait. So basically there's nothing to see there, but they're a little bumped up in RPM. Now it's doing this isn't me. It's running through some sort of tests and various different things. Still saying, just communicating, it's doing the test. It's just something that you know, if you have it do this and then all of a sudden some codes pop up, you know, you might be able to use them for some troubleshooting and stuff. I've never actually used any of this other than the buzz test and the cylinder contribution test, which we'll do next. So now it just idled back down. It goes back to this window saying no diagnostic trouble codes. So we can go back. Key on, engine running, glow plug monitoring self-test. Let's try that one after we do the cylinder contribution test. So right now we're just, you know, you don't really hear anything with this test. But, you know, it's doing something. I'd rather there be like a, you know, status bar or something come up there, but, you know, life can't be perfect. I'll go ahead and pause this just because it's not doing anything. I meant to say it wasn't doing anything that we could really tell. So that's interesting. We're coming up with cylinder 3 and 8 contribution balance issues. Now I've seen a lot of cylinder 8 contribution balances with cam position sensors for a period of time. Oh, I want to say in 2008 through 10, 11, somewhere in that era. If you got a cam position sensor that was gray colored versus the old black ones, sometimes these would happen. So I'm gonna have to look on this pickup and see if it has a gray colored cam position sensor, because that's probably what's throwing these, if that's, you know, anyway. So you can clear these if you want, you know. So okay, so now it's saying, you know, you can do it again. If you hit OK, it's going to do that same test again. We'll just hit cancel. We go back out here. Let's see what happens with this glow plug monitoring test. I've never done this one. Now the light up there is blinking. So I don't know what it did there, but it did something. No DTCs. Anyways, I was talking and I didn't realize I paused the camera again, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this injector buzz test again. We'll stand out by the pickup or in the front, and then you know, because this one has, you know, 8 healthy injectors. I've overhauled them a few months back, and then I will show you later on in the video on a different pickup what they sound like when they're, you know, when you got a couple of bad ones, referring to the injectors. So anyways, we'll go out at the pickup and then we'll do this so you can hear all 8 sound. Okay, so standing out here in the front, we got the key on inside. We are connected to this thing. I like to stand, you know, exactly right here. It gives you a good balance of each side of the engine, because if you're standing clear over here and you're doing it, you know, these ones over here are going to sound, because they're right here, they're going to be sounding a little bit closer than the ones over here. So if you stand, you know, right here when you're listening to this, I don't know, to me it just seems to work good. You can hear both sides really good. So let's alright, so let's go on here to the injector electrical self-test. Oops, I kind of doubled all of them. 1, 2. Thought it'd be better if you weren't listening while I was sitting there counting. Again, no DTCs, so it doesn't detect any problems. If you had like a shorted coil or an open coil, you know, on an individual injector, you know, that's what it should register in the DTCs, you know, as having an electrical issue. But you notice those were all nice and crisp and sounding, you know, none of them were, you know, dull and kind of smooth. You know, you can really tell that those injectors they're not sticking at all. The coils all work, but the internals and stuff aren't sticking. So that's a good test there. But before we leave this pickup and go to the other one that isn't bad, I'll show you some other stuff on how to do with this launch, you know, some other stuff for testing and whatnot. Alright, so back in here, we'll navigate out of this. I just hit one. We were, hope you didn't see, I don't know if you saw that. Focus. Okay, we were in here, so just hit this, you know, back arrow. And then now we're, you know, go in here to read data stream. So, you know, we got a bunch of different stuff. You know, I like to use barometric pressure, battery voltage, barometric pressure, PSI, you know. But as far as, like, you know, a lot of this stuff has to do with the pickup chassis itself. You know, for other you know, troubleshooting and stuff, for basically, you know, we use the engine oil pressure. You can use engine load if you want, you know, engine oil temperature, exhaust back pressure, exhaust back pressure voltage, gear ratio commanded and gear commanded, that'd probably be for an automatic. Here's a injector control pressure, PSI, that's an important one. Injector, you know, your IPR valve is this injector control pressure regulator percentage, that's an important one. Injector control pressure, PSI. I don't know why it has two different ones. ICP voltage. Manifold absolute pressure is another one. That's your, you know, sensor or your hertz. I mean, that's how, you know, I'm not exactly sure if you were troubleshooting the map sensor, but this PSI right here, that's another one. That's mass fuel desired. I've not used that myself for any troubleshooting. I'm not exactly sure what percent delta is for the different cylinders. Let's just select them and see. There's a lot of different things to do for different troubleshooting that this will actually do. You know, for $1,100, you know, they do have a smaller version of this. I had a smaller one that was screen was about just half the size of this. It worked, you know, really good. Just I had it plugged in on the wall, and the roof started leaking, and obviously the water had to drip just right on the thing. Go figure. So once you get all of those that you want selected, you just hit OK. Now, one thing I don't like about it is I don't like how it does this, but you can rotate this thing, and it's still, you know, if you got more than, you know, it's got 3 pages, so you're going to have to navigate through there. I just wish they would all just be in a list. There might be a way to change that. I just don't know how to do it yet. So, anyways, obviously just sitting at rest, you know, 14.84 on the ICP or the IPR is good. You know, just arrow over, hit the arrow, and you get back to the this one right here, in your ICP voltage, anywhere from like 0.18 to this 0.022, that's what you want to see when this thing is not running. So we'll go ahead and fire this thing up, and I'll shut the window. Make sure I'm in neutral, let my foot off the clutch there. So as you can see, the, you know, values change. It's interesting that, you know, one of the problems I was seeing with that cylinder contribution test was the number 3, and look how much higher the percentage is than number 1 and 2. So that's interesting. Same thing with number 8. Yeah, we're gonna have to do an update video on this to figure out what that is. Like I said, I don't have any issues with this pickup running or anything like that, so where is the, okay, so the IC or the IPR percentage, you know, that's about what you want to see at idle. That's okay. Obviously it, you know, changes when you rev it up. You know, the exhaust back pressure, that's the voltage. Exhaust back pressure 13, you know, that's within range. I had a whole deal, it's on my phone right now, about you know, what different ranges there are. But like I said, you can get a lot of stuff you know, that you need with this. You know, if you know, have this works great for a lot of, you know, regular automotive and type stuff like that. You know, you can use it on these 7.3s, and you can get, you know, most everything of what you know, need to troubleshoot for. So like I said, we'll go back in here. I'm not exactly sure what this is highlighted in red. May not be reading. Not sure if you can actually select it or do anything. Nope, don't think so. One main thing I always, you know, anytime I'm in a window like this, I always choose the battery positive voltage, because, you know, this is what the ECM is seeing, and that's important, especially with a lot of these 7.3s. If you've got weak batteries or you've got bad battery connections, you know, you might have, you know, with this thing, you know, running or something like that, you know, you might have, you know, or you'd have bad wiring anywhere. But like, if the ECM's seeing this kind of voltage, that's usually a good sign that, you know, most everything is good. But what happens is, if you get weak batteries, the 99s and 2000s were worse about that particular problem. They made the connections and stuff like that a lot better in the later ones. But you can have an engine that's just cranking over just fine, and if your battery voltage at cranking is dropping down below 9 volts, and so like if you had this, you know, let's just do it right quick. We'll shut this off. And so battery positive voltage. Now I don't know. We'll see if it reads while we're cranking. About the lowest was what, 11, something like that. So anyways, but if you were cranking the engine over and you saw that drop down below 9, it's not going to start. The ECM's not going to turn on the things it needs to turn on, even though it might sound like it's cranking good. But if that voltage is dropping down below 9, it's not going to start. So that's one reason I like to choose, you know, that for, you know, anything that I'm doing, troubleshooting on any vehicle and stuff, is I choose that, you know, put that battery voltage on there, because I want to see what it is. So, but I'll go show you on a different pickup that injector buzz test, and show you some injectors that are weak and what that sounds like. And so we'll go up and head up and do that. Now before we do that, we'll exit out of here. Basically at any time, you know, once you hit this back arrow, it just goes right back to the first window you went to. Well, what's in special functions? Not a whole lot. Fuel economy test, I haven't done that one. But you just basically just put in session, or sure you want to exit, okay. I like that, telling you, hey, pull your Bluetooth reader out of there. So you hit okay, and so you're back to, you know, the main window, and then shut it off. So we'll go check out that other pickup and show you what that buzz test that didn't pass. Alright, so this happens to be my other one was a 2002. This pickup I've got's 1999. And It actually is a 6-speed. I don't know why whoever had it before had that 5-speed knob put on it, but anyways, so what we'll do is turn the key on. I got the deal plugged in down the OBD sensor, and we'll go out and try to set this thing where we didn't have so much of a glare since we're outside, but it's not going to work. So go into Ford, we hit OK. Automatically search, key is on. Okay, comes up all the same. Alright, connecting, go to system selection. This one obviously doesn't have as much stuff to connect to, since this is the base XL package. No power windows, no. Still has a gem module, but that's for other things. We go back into the powertrain control module. Sorry about the glare on this screen. It just, you know, if I stood over here, I mean, the sun is just out, so it's late evening. Okay, so we'll go back to read fault code. Alright, so now we'll put the camera right here. I'm gonna basically choose, you know, Injector Self-Test, and we'll hit OK. All. Okay. Weak. Not bad. Pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. So we have there's about 2 of them that are, you know, okay. One's really bad. Number 2 is that one was really weak. We'll run it again. Now it says there's no DTCs on there because that means all of the coils and all the wiring to the coils are all good. It's the sound, it's the injector itself that's, you know, sticking. I'm really sorry about the glare. So we're gonna run this again, and I won't talk, that way you can listen to it. Yeah, 2 and 3 are really weak. 2 is really weak. 3 is weak. But you can hear the rest of them have a, you know, pretty crisp sound to it. So this one's going to be getting injector overhaul pretty soon. Alright, so that's troubleshooting, or, you know, not really actually troubleshooting, with you know, a 7.3 Powerstroke with the Launch x431 scan tool. You know, just showing that, you know, it will work. It will do, you know, what you have. I will do an updated video about that cylinders number 3 and 8 contribution with those percentages that we did see, because that's got to be just a little bit more of a coincidence that all of a sudden those are, you know, at quite a bit. Well, I wouldn't say quite a bit, but, you know, most of the other ones were riding around kind of 0.05-ish%, you know, at idle, and those were up at the, you know, 2.05, or, you know, it's quite a bit different, and it happened to be just 3 and 8. So we'll do an updated video when I figure out, you know, what's going on with that. I do take it back when I say that there's nothing wrong with this pickup. At certain points, it does have a slight vibration when you put it under load. Let's say you're in, you know, 6th gear, and you know your level, you're running at maybe 55, and that RPM is going to be so 17, 18 ish, you know. And so you don't have to be towing anything. So say you go, you know, start going up a little bit of a grade, you know. Now this is, you know, you're never going to need to shift or anything, and you know, you step down on the throttle a little bit more, you feel a real faint vibration. Now if you immediately let off the throttle, that vibration goes away, but your speed and your RPM didn't change much, so there can't really be anything as far as, and it'll do it at any RPM, or most any RPM. It's just real noticeable below 2,000, because quite frankly, you know, if you're above, you know, right around 2,500, I mean, you know, 7.3s are not the 6.7. They're, you know, they're louder, they're, you know, shake and vibrate a little bit more, kind of like old diesels, because they're old. So yeah, it does have, you know, that going on, that I've noticed a few times, but, you know, I don't know if that's related to this or what, but I will figure out, you know, what's up with that, those differences in number 3 and 8 cylinders, and I'll make an updated video about that. But at least now, you know, if you decide you want to, you know, get a scan tool like this, you know, I'd recommend it. It's done a lot for me. It's been really good. You know, like I said, and there was, you know, a lot of these aftermarket, you know, scan tools and stuff, they pretty much, you know, said, you know, a lot of, I've seen other guys, you know, with doing reviews and stuff on these, and it seems like, you know, a lot of them didn't work for the Ford 7.3, you know, but it will, you know. So if you need a, you know, a good all-around type of scan tool, you know, I would recommend it. It's pretty good, you know. I mean, I've got a few other brands and stuff, you know, but that's kind of when you work on a lot of other vehicles and stuff. It's good to have different types of brands, because, you know, some brands don't work on some GM vehicles, whereas another brand would. You know, I will know that one of the things I did use this on was a 2009, 2010 Chevrolet Tahoe. It worked really good. I mean, it everything I needed to do with that, with a fuel pressure regulator module or something. It's an actual module that regulates the fuel pressure as needed, or, you know, anyways. So yeah, like I said, I'd recommend it to you know, do everything you need to do, and like I said, it will work on the Ford 7.3 on, you know, the basic to somewhat advanced, you know, troubleshooting of these things. Most everything that you would need to know if you've got a certain issue going on, you know, as far as, you know, needing to know, you know, IPR percentage and ICP, you know, or your high pressure oil pressure reading, you know, all that kind of stuff, you know, because these things, you know, like I said, they need at least 500 psi to start. So if you're lower than that, it's not going to start. You got to figure out what's going on with that, whether it's your, you know, sensor itself. Sometimes if you get low pressure readings with ICP, and you're reading it, you know, under 500, a lot of times it'll be, you know, under 100 or something like that on a no start. You can unplug the ICP, and it will basically default to, I think, around 700 psi. So then the engine will start, and a lot of times, you know, you can limp it home, and that means you got a bad ICP sensor. Is, you know, with that test is good. So but as far as, you know, this scan tool doing everything, you know, most everything you need to do to troubleshoot a 7.3, it will work. You'll get the job done. And so that's why I wanted to do this, was, you know, to show that, hey, it does work on the 7.3 because there's probably a lot of other aftermarket scan tools that won't work on 7.3. So anyways, this one will launch x431 scan tool. So anyways, if you got any other questions, you can chat down there in the comments, and see you on the next one. Thanks.